All right, welcome back to StormWatch. We are going to recap the four most recent Hurricanes games, starting with the game in Ottawa. I'm your host, John Willis. This is my co-host, Brad Willis here. So let's get into it. The Canes overall with a 6 out of 8 points on the week, so that's pretty positive overall, positive week. But we still have lost 6 of our last 8. So kind of repeating those numbers in a negative way. Some recency bias does creep in with 2 back-to-back winnable games lost in OT and then the shootout. So it doesn't feel like the week ended on a positive note, but it really was overall a positive week. Like I said, you get 6 out of a possible 8 points, so you take that every week out of the season. The Canes were in Ottawa to start the week. They do break their 4-game losing streak on this one with a total score of 4-1 for the Hurricanes. Kochetkov got the start. He looked excellent. He stopped 27 out of 28. Ottawa does get the scoring started in the first, but Carolina would answer at the end of the period. It's a power play goal for Natchez. And in the second period, the Hurricanes would grab the lead. Aho would score on the power play as well, 2-1. The Canes were 2 for 2 on the power play that night. And this came within a few minutes after some back-to-back penalty kills by the Hurricanes. Jarvis then finishes a 2-on-1 to make it 3-1. And then Aho gets another on a 4-on-4 sequence, a really good shot from the slot, beats Korpisalo, blocker side, for a final score of 4-1. In the third period, there was a little bit more action. The most notable thing was the penalty shot awarded to Brady Tkachuk. The subsequent save by Kochetkov, possible trip, depending on how you look at it, and then the jawing back and forth. But overall, a really good game. Kochetkov, I thought, was really good. Shots were actually 28-32 for the Hurricanes. They actually were outshot by Ottawa by 4 in the game. So what were your thoughts on the game?
No, it's a good game. As I'm watching it, I'm conscious of Brady Tkachuk, but at the end, I'm like, it just seemed to me that they played a lot like who did we beat? Buffalo, where they just kind of didn't really. They being Ottawa, just didn't really seem to be really threatening anything.
No, not a tough opponent. Kochetkov did make some good saves in that game. He had a nice little backhander on one of their players in close, glove save off a backhander. That was early on in the game. And then, like I said, he did get the penalty shot save against Brady Tkachuk there at the end. But yeah, not the most difficult opponent by any means, but good to finally break that losing streak and get the W. And one thing I kind of was kind of keeping track of is something we spoke about last week was, the Hurricanes are at least decent, or can be at least decent in every aspect: offense, defense, goaltending, right? Those are the three areas of the game that I'm talking about here. At times we can be excellent in any of those areas, right? And if we get 2 out of those 3 on any given night, we should be pretty good. So here, I would say that we got the offensive was a check for sure. We scored 4 goals on 28 shots, so that's pretty good. And then goaltending, Kochetkov only let in 1 goal on 28 shots. I don't might have my shots mixed up there, but in any case, he only lets up 1 goal on nearly 30 shots. So really good. The defense, I'll give a half check to on that game as well. Nothing outstanding wise. They were, pretty close in shots overall, but still, you get 2 out of those 3 at least, and you're going to win every game. So moving on to the Wings game, the Hurricanes at the Wings, the first game back in the U.S. here after a lengthy stay out west in Canada. This was a Hurricane-style game, pretty much all game, in my opinion. Drury scores to get it started with a great pass from Nason. Just indirects a pass into the net. Nason has been, one of
Nason's been a shining star,
consistent forwards, this season. And both those guys, Drury as well, has been good of late. So that makes the score 1-0. Then Nason almost sets up Jarvis later in the period, and then again, actually in the third period, he has 2 feeds to Jarvis, and Jarvis is unable to finish those. think Jarvis is maybe getting a little bit of the yips at the moment, but we'll get into that a little bit later. In the second period, Detroit scores after Natchez loses the puck after skating right into our own defender on the breakout play. I don't know if you recall that one as well. Ultimately by the Detroit player. Coach Chekhov made that. It went bar down, but at the same time, Natchez has just got to work on getting it out of the net or getting it out of the zone quicker. No reason to turn over the puck in that position. With 8 minutes to go in the period, the goalies kind of trade some opportunities where they mishandle the puck. Coach Chekhov is able to save himself on his. He passes the puck directly to Patrick Kane in the slot, who turns and fires. Coach Chekhov is able to slide over in time and make the save. And then Husso down at the other end tries to reach out for a puck as it's going in, behind the goal line. Doesn't end up working for him. It strays. Jordan Stahl with a little bit of good hustle from the captain there. Good to see that leadership.
Good strength, good stick length on that poke.
Just poked it in. It was really easy, and that's the final score, 2-1 in that one. Just some things I noted in that game. Jarvis had a bunch of really good looks and couldn't score. Same thing in the last game. He ultimately does score in the game against Ottawa there, but really it's just a wide open net that he taps in off a pass from Aho on that one. And yeah, he had good looks in that Ottawa game as well, and was only able to find the back of the net once. Husso and Coach Chekhov were both good in this game. It was pretty much a goalie battle, and Coach Chekhov, was able to win this one. The team was good overall, and like I said, it was a Hurricane-style game pretty much through and through. So I really liked that game. That's been my favorite game of the week so far.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Coach Chekhov, 25 out of 26 shots, 962. His save percentage is starting to creep up. It's still not above 900.
Yeah, but this week it's great. I mean, he's only given up one goal every game that he started. This three out of the games. Past 3 games, he's only given up one goal each. So.
Yeah, so like we ended last week, I said, you know what, maybe it's time just to give Coach Chekhov, and that was before the Ronta. I believe that was before Ronta was waived.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
I said we should just give it to Coach Chekhov and let him see what he can do.
Yeah.
I did see that they made a transaction. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. They picked up
It's a tryout. It's a tryout.
San Jose. Is that what it is?
Tryout. It's a PTO. Same thing that Halak. I mean, not signed or anything officially.
Okay.
But it's a tryout. Yeah, we'll get into that goalie conversation here in a bit. But yeah, with this one here, going back to the 3 areas of play, defense, goaltending, you get check marks on both of those. Maybe not on the offense, only because we weren't able to finish, some really good looks. Like I said, their goaltender did play well, but we had some really good looks. We just weren't able to put away that many. Ultimately, we put away enough to get the W, but we didn't bring our A game offensively necessarily. But like I said, you get 2 out of those 3, you can probably win the game. You could find a way to make up the gap there. All right, and then getting into the next game, or did you have any other thoughts on that game there?
No, that's fine. Let's move on.
Okay, cool. Next game there was the Nashville versus Carolina game. This is the first home game back after a long 6-game road trip. The announcers are saying kind of feels like a road game only because you're still traveling, basically fly right back-to-back game against the Detroit game. And, like I said, with that Detroit game, that was a very Carolina Hurricane style game, right? They were in on the forecheck the whole game. Shots were, let's see, I had it written down, I thought. But we outshot them by a pretty good margin, 39-26. So, pretty good margin there. That's your typical Carolina Hurricanes game, even though it is low scoring. But good defense was on display that game.
Detroit was without Larkin, just it should be noted.
True. All right, fair enough. Detroit's a good team, though.
Yeah.
Even without him. Anyways, with the Nashville game, that was not the case at all. It was not a Carolina, quote-unquote, Carolina Hurricane-style game. It was run and gun all over the place, shoddy defense left and right by both teams, honestly. And, yeah, just not the way we want to play that game. I hope it's not Antti Ranta's last game. We'll get into that after I go through the game recap, but it just might be. It's hopefully that guy, such a nice guy, doesn't end his career on a note like that.
No, he'll find somebody. somewhere.
So UC Parsonen for Nashville gets it started in the first with his 6th goal of the season. Then Stefan Nason and Tony DeAngelo both score at the 10 and 12-minute mark, both on the power play. Nason, I believe that one was a tip-in, right? And then DeAngelo's was just a anticipated tip by the goalie. It never actually got tipped.
Yes, that goal was very soft.
So, and one thing I did want to note is, we had the first 5 shots of the game. Ronta didn't see a shot until about, the 3 or 4 minute mark. And he had 2 excellent saves to start the game. First save of the game was on a 2-on-1. The guy chose to shoot it. He made a pad save, kicks out to the slot, and then a guy follows it up. And Ronta reaches out with the blocker and is able to get to it. So started the game with 2 excellent saves after not seeing some rubber, at least at the first few minutes of the game. But like I said, they were able to score first. But it's 2-1 going into the second period. Yossi would then open it up in the second period, 2-2. Chatfield, then Aho, then Ryan O'Reilly, then Martin Natchez, then Tyson Berry. So 3 goals apiece in the second period there. Just a wide open, crazy, not Hurricane style second period. That was one of the worst periods of play, in my opinion, that we've had, even though we did put 3 in the back of the net.
Right.
And then they get 1 in the third and 1 that really matters there in overtime. Ronta struggled this game big time. 6 goals on 30 shots, but not just 6 goals. There's at least 3, probably 4 of those that he wants back.
Yeah.
He made some good saves in the game. He did. There were moments where you think, okay, he gives up a couple here, then he makes a good save, and you're like, okay, maybe he can kind of ease his way back into the game, and he just was never able to find it, and he's been that way for a while now. So ultimately, he was waived at the end of this the very next day, especially in overtime. It's a shot from Philip Forsberg, who is a goal scorer. It's a good place for the shot. The shot itself, he's got to make that save, though. It's not a super.
What do you have as the goalies in this game? His stats. What were his stats?
Well, he had 6 goals on 30 shots, so that's 80.80 save percentage.
Yeah, I'm looking at Yahoo, and I'm looking at the game recap. They have Kochetkov. That must be from the other night. Someone has both goalies in.
Yeah, I mean,
on Yahoo, on the game recap on Yahoo.
No, he wasn't. He didn't play at all.
No, okay.
So,
I know I've noticed something. I looked at.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, okay. So I thought this is a game we were going to walk away with.
Well, we had the lead at multiple points in the second.
Right.
Period. We had 2 2-goal leads in this game.
Right.
So, I think especially in the third period, you did see that the team was tired. Third period was really not much going. Shots were 11-7 Carolina in the first. They were, in the third period, we actually did get it going. It was 11-7 Carolina in the first, 14-7 Nashville in the second, and then 13-8 Carolina in the third. But they got the 1 shot in overtime, the only one that really mattered.
Mm-hmm.
That's the game there. So Carolina was 2 for 3 on the power play, I guess is the positive. Look out there. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the game? And then we'll
well, again, like I said, I thought we had that game in the bag. We were up 2 goals.
Yeah, 2 goals.
We were at home for the first time in 6 games. I just thought we were, I mean, that was a fairly frustrating game. And the game last night was frustrating as well.
Yeah. Well, so let's go ahead and let me just jump into we'll just jump right into
yeah.
Quick recap of that. Capitals versus Canes. Tough one here. Capitals do beat the Hurricanes 2-1. They extended into overtime, and then Kuznetsov is the lone scorer, of course, in the shootout there. First period shot 7-7. Kochetkov did make some pretty good saves, but fairly even through the first period. Carolina does have a 4-minute power play in that period and can't capitalize at all on that. Canes were 0 for 5 on the day for power plays.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one, because if you get one of those, it's a completely different game. Shots are 8-8 in the second period. Aho does open up the scoring with a one-timer from the slot. Jarvis does some nice work down low, dirty work down low, gets the puck, and then finds Aho in the slot. Pretty easy goal, passing shot in the back of the net. And then in the second period, Natchez is trying to bring it out of our own zone. He takes the puck, skates it directly into our defender's feet, letting the Capitals player walk into the slot and fire at Pasco Chekhov. So,
yeah, if you watch Marty Natchez, he is really a high risk kind of player because of his just unwillingness to move up the ice without the puck. He'll skate clear back past the red line just to go forward instead of passing it, making a couple ticky-tack passes to move the puck. And he runs into trouble like that. It's getting old.
Yeah, it's getting very, very old. Yep. Then in the third period, Carolina does press. They're 13-5 in the shots for Carolina. The Capitals were pretty tight defensively, at least to start that period, not offering much, but Carolina did get some good looks. Lindgren was good, Kemper was in this game. He was good.
Yeah.
And we had some good looks on the power play. Aho and KK. This wasn't on the power play, but they both hit the post. I believe Brett Pesky also hit the post in the third period.
Yeah, there were quite a few posts.
But you got to score. A shot on the post does not count as a shot on net. So it is technically not going in the net. And then in OT, that was the most boring overtime I think I've ever witnessed. We had one chance at the front, near the beginning.
That was it.
And then that was it. They just
pretty much that was it.
Full rest of overtime.
So okay. So Washington.
Hold up. Kuznetsov gets the winner there in the shootout. Aho can't score. He does his little move. Thought it did not look good. Turbo actually did have some room and actually got unlucky. It hits the shaft above the blocker of Kemper's stick there. So a little bit unfortunate there. But then Jarvis, he doesn't hit the net on the third try. So no one scores in the shootout. And, it's kind of indicative of why you can't win a game like that. So going back to the 3 points that you need, offense, defense, and goaltending, you got goaltending. And you kind of got, maybe a half check on defense, but ultimately they didn't get any offense. So tough way to end the week. 2 back-to-back, a shootout and then an overtime loss. But again, you do get 6 points out of a possible 8 on the week, which is pretty good. So let's get into discussing, I guess, the biggest topic of the week. Did you have any other thoughts on that game before you kind of jump around?
No, let's go. Let's talk.
Okay, so we definitely need some more scoring. I just want to mention that before we get into the biggest topic, which is obviously going to be goalies. Aho had a fairly decent week, but you just need more. You can't have Aho be the only guy, and then the nights where the other guys are scoring, Aho can't disappear, right? We just have to have the biggest guys be the biggest guys. Turbo, what's he done lately? I don't know. AK, he hit the post, a couple times recently, but he hasn't
those two are struggling.
Jarvis, like I said, Jarvis did have a goal this week. But
Jarvis is still playing hard.
He's still playing hard. The effort's still there.
I see him go into corners like Tom Wilson. I mean, he's always making noise and making me look at the TV. Like, this guy is he's fearless.
If Natchez had an ounce of Jarvis in him, man, what that would be. But he doesn't. And so, that guy's struggling. Natchez had a rough week. He did get, I believe, maybe even 2 goals on the week. He scored in the Ottawa.
Well, he got bailed out by some really good passing on that one play where Shea hit him, and he hit it wasn't really a full slap shot, but it was kind of a push and wrister.
Yeah, I mean, there's, he's there offensively. I'm not knocking that, but there's other parts of his game where we got to tighten it up. I keep going back to those 2/3, or we need 2/3 of the things. We need offense, defense, or goaltending. Right now, we're struggling in all three areas, particularly with goaltending, which is the biggest topic of the week. Let's go ahead and move right into it. Ronta gets waived after your Nashville game. They bring up Yanni Peretz, who is currently in the ECHL, fresh out of college last year.
Yeah.
The national title with Quinnipiac. But yeah, so he's technically our backup goaltender at the moment. We also hired Aaron Dell as well, who played a few games for San Jose, has been mostly with San Jose, I believe, throughout his career, maybe a couple other teams, but kind of mostly an AHL guy.
Right.
Gets into the NHL every now and then. And, we had Yaroslav Halak on a PTO not too long ago. That didn't end up working out. We didn't end up signing him. But right now, the goaltender issue needs to be fixed. And I don't know if I have faith that the team and the management, Don, is going to fix it. The way I'm looking at it is they know now that Anderson has been cleared to start skating again. So he's going to be back on the ice soon. They said the time frame is maybe a little bit more than a month away for him to potentially return to games. So, let's just say that that's 6 weeks. That puts you at, start of February, essentially, is where we're at with him. There's a lot of games between now and then. I don't think Kochetkov and Peretz gets you there. I don't think they want to play Yanni Peretz at all, but, you do run the risk of burning out Kochetkov. Let's see. There is a back-to-back coming up here on the 27th and 28th. It's a travel in between, too. Nashville is an away game on Wednesday, the 27th.
Go back to Montreal.
And then a game the 28th versus Montreal. So, do you start Kochetkov both those games? Or do you hope to have a third goalie by then? Because I think you have to get a third goalie by then. I don't think you want to throw Yanni Peretz in there. We saw what happened with Jack LaFontaine. What was that, a season or two ago? Gave up, 8 goals? Poor kid. I don't think he'll ever get back to the NHL. I mean, you just can't do something like that. It's not a good situation.
You got to learn sometime.
They threw him into it wasn't the right time. You let goalies develop. They are always the ones that need the longest time.
They develop by playing.
Okay, I get your point. What I'm saying is it wasn't a good move then. It's not going to be a good move now with Yanni Peretz. I don't care. I don't care if they can develop in the league. They're not going to win right away. They're not Marc-Andre Fleury, okay? They're not going to be great right off the start. So what do you think is going down with the goaltender situation? Because Anderson's coming back in 6 weeks. Ronta's been sent down. He agreed to go down to the Wolves, the AHL team. Hopefully he can regain his game. My personal thought is I think that the team is I don't think we're going to make a move. I think maybe we sign Aaron Dell at league minimum. And
hope Freddie comes back healthy.
And then you hope Freddie and then potentially Ronta finds his game and come back. I think that's ultimately what they're going to do because that's what I've seen out of this management for forever now. They don't want to spend the money to go and get someone, right? They feel they've been dealt a bad hand with their current goaltender situation with the injuries and, their play not being up to par, which they kind of have. But, you got to dig yourself out of this hole somehow. And I don't think that this management is willing to go out there and make a trade, give up an asset to go and improve the goaltender position, which is frustrating because right now, are we in the playoffs right now?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, barely, probably barely.
Barely.
Yeah, so, it's frustrating, but I think that's what they're planning on doing. Maybe, like I said, you sign Aaron Dell, but I'm not excited about Aaron Dell.
There's no one available that's an upgrade to Kochetkov and Anderson. That's available. Okay. Now
available.
That they're on the last year of an RFA year. I mean a UFA year, or they're an RFA. Their contract is up wherever they are. Mm-hmm. There's no one of any caliber that you're going to spend more than you normally would spend on a goalie. Plus, you're probably going to have to give up a piece. So, for example, John Gibson,
Mhm.
Campbell in Edmonton, they're contract heavy. They're very expensive goalies, and they're not worth it.
I would
That's
not
what I'm.
Jack Campbell. He's by no means worth it. I think John Gibson could be worth it. I don't
Could
know.
be.
I don't know him well enough. He's got a $6.4 million cap hit, and that's through 2027. So it's definitely an investment in the long term of the team, not just in the short term.
Yeah.
Agreed. But what about there's backups out there right now. Detroit has three goalies: Alex Lyon, Billy Husso, and James Reimer. Right, two of the three of those guys have played for this organization before.
Yeah. The only one of those you're going to get is Reimer. Lyon's hurt.
Sure, but wouldn't you rather have Reimer backing up than Yanni Perez?
Yeah, but it's not going to cost me a lot of money.
Okay, so I'm saying there are people out there that you might be able to get. I don't know what Reimer gets paid, but
But again, you're only renting him until Anderson is healthy. Knock on wood.
Is he ever going to be healthy?
Right.
Ronta ever going to come back and be good? Is Kochetkov going to be able to remain healthy? You're asking a lot out of him. I don't think he's quite ready for the workload we're about to throw on him. If this is management's plan, I don't think I'd love for him to be ready. I just don't think it's there yet. He's had 3 games in a row. That's great. He's had 3 games in a row where he's only let up 1 goal, and that's fantastic. He is showing a lot of promise, especially this past week.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's ready, and it's tough because so then what do you do? I guess if you're kind of agreeing with management, then do you just sign like an Aaron Dell?
No, I'm just saying I don't think what I'm agreeing with is I don't want to panic and overpay for a goaltender that I'm not going to need next year, but I'm going to be stuck with his contract.
So then I guess more than likely, the most likely scenario is you find a stopgap, and Aaron Dell, maybe some low-level backup that you can trade for, who's just going to fill in, maybe play 2 games until February. What happens if Kochetkov gets hurt?
Yeah, I know.
So then you're stuck with Aaron Dell and Yanni Perez?
Yeah, that's what you're stuck with.
So, yes, there's risk to going and getting the big guy or the big guy, but right now,
I mean, if it were me, I think I would start looking at A minus and above goaltenders and work out a trade. I'd rather my weakness be having a subpar defenseman than maybe a subpar goalie. That's where I'm going with it.
Okay, so maybe let's parlay this into the next topic, which I wanted to talk about, which is kind of like, as a fan, how are you now visualizing the success of this team in the future? Like at the beginning of the season, to me, I would have defined a successful season as reaching the Eastern Conference Finals, winning the Eastern Conference Finals, and reaching the Stanley Cup Finals. Like that to me was, taking the next step. And ideally, you win the Stanley Cup. Obviously, with the Vegas odds being what they were, that inspires a lot of hope in fans. But we're not that team.
No.
40% of the way. We're not that team. So
no.
Currently our odds are like 0%.
Yeah, we
So what I guess what I'm asking is, given what you're saying about the goaltending, it seems to me like you're willing to maybe gamble on the success of this season if you can secure up more success for more seasons to come by looking for an A minus goaltender and really, trading away a valuable asset, maybe a Marty Necas and a Jack Drury.
Well, maybe one that you were going to lose anyway at their next contract.
Sure, Pesci, Shea, that type.
Right.
Of thing. Yeah, and I think Don is probably looking into all of those options as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there is an A-plus goaltender that's on a team that's not in a playoff position that's willing to make a move like that. Not any that come to mind, at least. But there's guys out there who are good. Like I don't know what Mackenzie Blackwood's situation is in San Jose, but he's a very solid goaltender.
Yeah.
I don't know what his price would be. I know they're a rebuilding team, maybe an asset, and Jack Drury gets that deal done. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
no, it's tough,
John,
but there's a thought that crossed my mind today, and we should take it into consideration. I was watching the round of 16 draw for the UEFA, and the names that they were announcing, right? Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City, Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund. They're all the same teams every year.
Yep.
And I started thinking, I'm kind of thankful that America looks at, like, America has a salary cap, right? In most of its sports divisions. Otherwise, the Carolina Hurricanes would be the Leeds United of the Premier League, because they're just not a big market.
Right.
They'd be bouncing toward the bottom every year.
To be fair, we kind of are the Leeds United for the largest part of our existence.
But we're not.
But yes, I understand.
We're given the opportunity to compete financially.
Correct.
Okay. Instead of having some
Champions League every year, given
the
fair nature of the finances behind.
Right.
Yes.
So I was thinking, you know what? We should kind of be thankful Carolina's supported the team so well for so long. Now, that said, that said, maybe we've just kind of we put our money in the wrong places. And I don't know what a deep dive analysis would show if you said, hey, your goalie, I mean, history has kind of proven it out. If you have a Hall of Fame goalie, at some point you're going to win a Stanley Cup for the most part. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
we're competing for it.
Yeah, you're going to compete for it. Who's the best to never win it? Luongo comes to mind.
Luongo, probably.
At least in recent times.
Yeah, that I'm aware of.
I'm sure there's others we're missing that are great and never won it, but.
Did Lundqvist ever win it?
No, I don't think he did.
Yeah.
I don't think he did. No, Lundqvist is another good one, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think, and if you can get an A- goaltender, it gives you the chance to win no matter what team you put out on the ice. A chance to win, right? Like, San Jose's last week, I haven't checked into it this week, but last week I was telling you, San Jose's record the past 16 games, this is referencing what I said last week, was the same as ours.
Yeah. So let's
there's no doubt that their goaltender's been better than ours. Their goaltender.
Yeah. So that's a really good segue into a couple of things I want to talk about.
Okay, sure.
So first of all, you talked about the week being okay. We got 6 points out of 8 possible. Two of them were overtime games. That's what gave us the additional 2 points.
Yeah, but one thing about that, and maybe this is what you're going to get to, is the teams that we did lose to are both technically playoff teams at the moment. And the teams we beat are both. Oh, I guess no. The Wings. Excuse me. The Wings.
Yeah, they're in the bubble.
Nashville. Oh, where's Nashville at? Because they've been surging.
Yeah, they're in the wild card. I think
playoffs right now, and then the Capitals as well. So, but the biggest win was the 4-1 win versus Ottawa, and Ottawa's not a good team. They just fired their coach yesterday.
Nashville's in the same place we are, not the first wild card team.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. You were segueing into something.
Sorry. They actually have one more point than we do.
Yeah.
So they are surging.
A lot of people have more points.
Yeah. So, but before that,
yeah,
the infamous Canadian trip, we got 0 of 8 points in those 4 games.
Yeah.
Then the week before that, we got 6 of 8.
Yep.
That was Columbus, Philly, the Islanders, and Buffalo.
Yep.
And the week before that, we got 4 of 8. We lost to Philly. We beat
So what's that average out to? 4 of 8, 500, something like that?
Yeah, so the bottom line is, out of the 32 possible points, we got 16.
Yeah.
In the last 16 games. We're a 500 team. We're a hockey 500 team.
Yeah. It's really hard to stomach. We're 40.
So here's some. So the THG today had something, and I don't normally get into analyzing advanced stats because, first of all, I don't really understand some of them, but these were pretty simple. He had 6 stats. 2 of them were individual stats. 3 of them were individual stats, and 3 of them were team stats. And you know how he has his magnets all over the place, and he's got all his magic marker. On that whiteboard, there was no Carolina Hurricanes magnets.
Mm-hmm.
So because his advanced stats are both the best and the worst in each of those 6 categories, tells me we're right in the middle again in these kind of advanced stats. We're not a team that shows up at the top. We're not a team that shows up at the bottom.
Sure.
There was one there was one that, because we talked about Martin H's earlier, there was one I was actually surprised he didn't participate in. So the individual ones are expected goals and takeaway giveaway differential. And then the other one was penalty in minutes differential. How many penalties are you causing versus how many times are you taking a penalty?
Yeah.
So on the expected goals, the worst was Tkachuk of Florida.
Mm.
So he didn't score as much as he should have, given the opportunities he found the puck on his stick.
Sure.
The highest was, and this won't surprise you, was Kucherov of the Lightning. Now I wrote down the guys kind of. Kachuk's in the Atlantic, right?
All right, but how does this pertain to the Hurricanes?
I'm telling you how it pertains to the Hurricanes. These are the people. So first of all, I want to say, okay, who's on this list, good or bad, and are they playing Hurricanes? So the 2 on the list that were positives were Kucherov and Panarin. Anders Lee of the Isles was a negative 7.6. So there's no Hurricanes on that goal. So we're not showing up on either end of the bell curve. Either we're scoring right around what we're expected to score on an individual basis. Takeaway giveaways. Number 1 was a +20, Mark Stone of the Vegas. He's got 37 takeaways and has given away 17 times.
Okay.
So it shows you a good 2-way forward, because his other offensive stats aren't necessarily there. And that's proven out. He's a very good captain of that team. But one of the other names he had up there that surprised me was McDavid. McDavid had taken away 32 times, but had given away the puck 33 times.
Yeah.
And Bedard was even, 27-27.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that, but penalty differential, McDavid was in the top 5. So he's drawing penalties. He's not giving up penalties. By the way, the number 1 person was Stützle of Ottawa. He's got 12 penalty minutes, but he's drawn 40 penalty minutes. Now, here's where we get into team stats. And THG kind of described these next 2 stats as kind of a measure almost of luck.
Okay.
Goals above expected, right? So the Oilers are the worst in the league.
I understand what above expected is. Let's get into it.
Well, so I'm just reading off these stats.
Okay.
Just like you were reading off the game's stats. So the teams that we play or that we're vying, Penguins and Isles negative. Detroit is on fire. They're the number 1 team.
Okay. Goals
against above expectations. Tampa is the worst. The Pens are the best. Teams that we would typically vie for a spot in the playoffs.
Okay, I see what you're getting at.
Yeah. So what I took away from that was, okay, the Canes aren't, there's no extreme on the Canes. And we know that. That's just how they are. They don't have Connor McDavid. They don't have, you know,
Yeah, we know
Aiden Hill on their team, stopping every damn puck that comes his way. High danger chances for and against. The Flyers, 17 chances differential, 60 high. They caused 60 high danger chances, but only giving up 43. The Capitals, 44 for, 72 against.
So what are the
How many high danger chances? I wonder what we had yesterday. And the Rangers also were bad in that regard.
Yeah.
So they were the two kind of. I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe there's just a bit of puck luck still in these statistics, still in these rankings, still in the schedule, the record.
Sure, but do you think that we can go far if Sebastian Aho is your best offensive player?
He was last year.
Okay.
He's running almost at the same clip.
But sure, he's running at almost the same clip. But we also had Svechnikov earlier,
right?
Who was producing a lot, and the last 2 months of the season going into the playoffs, we were a 500 team. Like,
right? Maybe it's switched this year. Maybe we're just a 500 team now, but we're gonna with.
I think what
the key is Svechnikov. There's two keys to our team: goaltending and Svechnikov.
No, it's not. It's not just it. It's team defense too. We succeeded with average goaltending in Ronta and Anderson before. Team defense is by far our most, in my eyes, it's the biggest part of our identity as a team.
Yeah.
Defense.
So one stat I saw today when I was looking at the Carolina Hurricanes
guys on offense to get it done, in my opinion, at this point. I mean, at least that's what I'm starting to believe.
Say that one more time.
I don't know. You said earlier I'd like to do a deep dive on the stats of all this. And you just brought up a bunch of stats, but I want to know where are the Hurricanes actually on that stats? Because you brought up the top and the bottom. Well, we might be second bottom.
No. He had the top 5 and the bottom 5, okay. So basically.
I see. But still, in any case, I think we need to look at the numbers on our forwards and see, are they going to put up enough goals, get the job done? Because I just don't. I don't think so. Right now.
No, and that's where we left last year, right?
Our team right now, which has a core of players, right, and then you've got your auxiliary players, your Nasons, your Drurys, that type of player, right? The core is the Aho, line, Aho, Turbo, Svech, and then maybe the Stahl line is part of that core, right? The core with Toronto is those 4 guys, right? Their record is much better than ours. Now, when it comes to the playoffs, that's where the things are a little bit different. But they're getting it done because their top guys are getting it done. We're not getting it done because our top guys are not. They don't compare to other top guys in the league. They just don't.
But keep in mind, John.
Hold on. Who would you send to the All-Star game right now? If you had to be an All-Star voter, who would you send? And I know who you're going to say.
On our team?
The only choice, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aho's your All-Star. He's not an All-Star.
No.
It doesn't stack up. There's a bunch of way better, way more fun offensive players who would be much better suited at the All-Star game. We don't, what I want to look at is a deep dive of the numbers. You said, maybe our money hasn't been spent in the right places. We're a good team, but is it the right pieces to the puzzle? I'm starting to believe that going after a number 1 goaltender and shaking it up a little bit and kind of figuring it out in a couple of years and rebuilding the roster back to the strength that it was last year might ultimately be the best plan of action right now for the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't think you go after Gibson. That's a lot of money. But there's a guy out there who you can get who I think is at least worth looking into, and at least worth considering the fact that your team probably isn't the team that you thought you had at the start of the season, so you're probably not going as far in the playoffs. Might be worth considering making a pretty big move here.
Yeah, so
shaking up that core to some degree.
Right. So watching the games, I'm big on the eye test. And there are a couple of things that kind of stand out to me. One is I love Jordan Stahl. I love that line. I love the Martinook Fast Stahl line, but all those guys are negative plus minus, and they're not doing anything on the offensive side.
Not much.
No, and Jordan Stahl's up there in age, and he still has 2 more years after this year on his contract. 3 more.
I think we signed him to 4 years.
Yeah.
Which I was like, that's.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, I don't know.
And then so if that line's not scoring, your fourth line.
Thank God Nason is scoring. Thank God the fourth line is scoring.
Yeah.
Drury and Nason have been, the shining stars recently.
Yeah. Remind me whose roster spot was filled by Bunting. Because I couldn't think of who it was.
I can't either. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank now, but yeah.
Because I was trying to think, is that the reason that did we lose someone of that caliber?
No. Bunting was an offensive addition, at least thought of.
Yeah, and he's not really lived up to it in my mind either.
No, not quite.
He seems to be.
He's got promise on games, and then there's other games where he's just completely unnoticeable.
Well, he kind of disappears sometimes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at the team last year.
All right. Well, is there any more?
Stastny.
Yeah. Is there any more?
Stastny, Stepan, Pacioretty, which he didn't play.
Center situation.
No, we need Svechnikov to come back.
Here's the other thing. Let's say he does come back. Is Svechnikov ever going to be a 40-goal scorer?
I don't really care.
Well, I do, because we need someone else to put pucks in the back of the net. Sebastian Aho cannot be the number 1 goal scorer on this team if we're going to win the Stanley Cup.
Who are the best 2 forwards in the entire NHL last year?
Draisaitl and McDavid. I don't know.
Right, and they're below 500, John.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean.
Come on, it's about winning. That's the problem with having top heavy like that. They're only put on the ice 33% of the time.
Just argued the opposite with Toronto.
Oh, that's the thing I was going to tell you about Toronto. Those 4 people, 2 of them were number 1 picks.
I understand. Well,
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. Toronto, we've had more success in the postseason the last 25 years than Toronto. We haven't had no number 1 picks.
I understand. We are a great organization when it comes to managing the cap, at least under the Waddell, Brindamore era here. We've been excellent. I'm so tired of hearing, well, we almost got Matthew Tkachuk. We got to get the guys who are going to put it on the top. Okay?
Yeah.
Got to go out and get ourselves a better goaltender. Okay? We got to. I don't want to do just a little bit better. Get the guy who's really going to be good,
And let you have a sucky fourth line.
Jack Eichel, they went out, they spent all the money in the world to go get him. They traded for him. Whatever they had to do, they got him. They didn't make the playoffs the first year. The very next year, the first time that guy steps on the ice in the playoffs, he wins the Stanley Cup. So the big players, they get the Stanley Cup done, right? You need these guys to do it, okay?
Yeah, he had some good advanced stats today.
Or you have a super, super well-rounded team like the 2006 Hurricanes, which, again, they still had Eric Stahl put up 100 points that season. He was an amazing player that season. So they still had superstars. Sebastian Aho has never, scratched the surface of 100 points. Okay, so
yeah, but John, who won the Conn Smythe that year?
Cam Ward. I understand.
A rookie goaltender. I'm just saying you can't buy everything. That's what I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make. In this environment, the teams who get the advantage are the teams who suck for a while.
Sure, but we're out of our sucking for a while. We're good for a while phase. We need to win. We need to win while we can win, and it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't see
while this window's open. Or at least, I mean, we're speaking. There's a long season to go. The team can improve, but you hope to improve in the off season, not during the season.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't see.
We'll wrap this up because we're kind of rambling here.
Yeah.
Right.
You're frustrated. I'm frustrated, but I don't see us. If we're going to make the wild card, maybe, but we're not going to go very far this year.
So then let's do something about it instead.
Yeah.
I'd rather miss the playoffs than just be a wild card and end the first round. I'd rather miss the playoffs with a change in the team, significant change in the team. Try something rather than this.
Okay, who are your sacred cows on this team then? Is everyone?
Literally not one.
Okay.
Literally not one person.
Yeah.
Nason. I'd like to keep Nason because I bet keep him for pretty good. And
I just visualize him chugging down the ice chasing somebody.
Yeah.
He's a smart player, but he's not the fleetest of foot.
Slavin's a sacred cow. You don't get rid of Slavin.
No, I agree. Because, I forgot about him.
Slavin's probably the only one. Aho, you're not getting rid of. He just signed for long term. He's not.
Well, Svech is under long term too.
Longish, but I mean, what he's got, like three more seasons, something like that.
No, I think he's got 4 or 5 more.
Sure, but in any case, like you asked me who's sacred, Slavin.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Let's look real quick at his stats. I'm just curious.
Who's Slavin?
Yeah.
He's got like 3 goals and probably 10 assists. I don't know. He's got more points than Brett Burns. Brett Burns only has 13 points in how many games so far?
Yeah. I mean, from an offensive standpoint, Brady Shea's been our best defenseman.
Brady Shea has been our best defenseman almost from a defensive standpoint as well. I mean, Slavin's obviously always going to be that. All right, let's get into studs and duds for the week. We got a new segment here called Studs and Duds. We're just going to talk about the best player or the best aspect of the team for the week, and then the worst as well. So let's go ahead and start with duds, so we can end this on a positive note. Even though overall, again, I do want to say it again. It was a positive week. They got 6 out of 8 points. The 2 most recent losses were both overtime losses. I would argue we probably deserve to win. Yeah. At least one of those.
We should have won one of those. No question. The Nashville game because we were up 2 goals, and the Washington game because they had just come back off of a game the night before, and they didn't look very fleet of foot.
Yeah. All right. So studs and duds. Who's your dud of the week?
Well, it's Ronta's the obvious choice.
Yeah, it's hard to. Go ahead. Yeah, Ronta is the obvious choice. Hopefully he gets better. What else you got to say about Ronta? Hopefully he can find his game.
I guess if I had to pick a skater, I think Tony DeAngelo is having trouble. He's very good on the power play, but I've never seen a person just lose the puck off their stick so many times just skating up the ice or
I got
fake.
Huh? I got one who does it a lot. Marty Natchez.
Yeah, Marty Natchez. Okay, so the same thing I was frustrated with Tony is why I'm frustrated with Martin.
Yeah, so 77 and 88. Don't repeat your numbers. Those are your 2 duds of the week.
Okay.
I will say though, Tony, we're 25% on the power play this week. 4 out of 16 is pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He does a good job of that.
But yes, both those guys are can be frustrating from a playmaking standpoint. They can both really make some good plays, but they can both really just do nothing with the puck. And then your stud of the week, I'm assuming we probably got the same one for this one, but mine's Kochetkov.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 3 starts, 3 goals across those 3 starts. He's looked excellent. My worry is that we start to overwork him, but at least he is,
maybe he's a guy who wants to play all the time.
Yeah, maybe. I'm just, he broke down at a certain point last season too. So, all 3 of these guys, Ranta, Kochetkov, and Anderson, none of them are proven to be, tough in net, like, resilient, I guess, can withstand injury.
Right.
All of them.
Right.
So I do think something has to happen. Probably they just go with that stopgap like we talked about. Sign Aaron Dell or sign some, random backup who maybe can play 2 games, 3 games at most.
We should bring back the Zamboni guy. What was his name again?
David Ayers.
David Ayers.
David Ayers, Hurricanes legend David Ayers. All right, well, I think that about does it. Let's look at the schedule ahead this upcoming week. What do we got here? We've got tough opponent here on Tuesday. I'm actually going to be at that game playing the Vegas Golden Knights. Big game. This is going to be a tough opponent. We're going to see how we stack up against a really good hockey team. If we can play well, that'll instill a lot of confidence in me. Then we go to play away in Thursday in Pittsburgh, and then we're back home Saturday for the Islanders game on the 23rd. We'll be having our in-person podcast, so no Skype on the next podcast. Try to do an in-person conversation, how that goes. Best of luck. Happy holidays to everyone, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye.
happy holidays.